Hey everybody, Wandering Pastor coming to you again on another great fall day here in Michigan, and I'm coming to you with part 2 of my series, Who Should I Vote For? Now I need to tell you right here and right now, I am not going to tell you who to vote for in this series. That's not my purpose. And some of you on, on various media platforms have challenged me in what I'm doing here. What I'm trying to help people do is think through in a logical way with Christ and faith at the center of it, who should they vote for, or how should they vote, or whether or not they should vote in the presidential election coming up. But I know that a large number of people have already made that decision, right? Nothing I'm saying is going to change your mind, but there's probably, again, there's 40% on the left, there's 40% on the right, and then there's 20% sort of in the middle. And some of those on the right or left may not be, to the ends of it. And so you may have some question about whether or how you should vote. And so that's really what the point of all of this is. Many people see what they see. They see, and the opinions they have of the candidates are strong. And you see either sort of a hateful, bigoted bully or a lawbreaker, or you see an unqualified and ignorant communist. I mean, those are the extremes of what people see. And for some of you, nothing is going to change your mind on that. But some of you are less sure, and so I wanted to address that. So let me say just a few things to you about this whole issue. First of all, as Jesus said in Matthew chapter 10, verse 16, he says, "Look, I'm sending you out as sheep among wolves. So be as shrewd as snakes and as harmless as doves." One of the things I believe he wants us to do is to be informed, to know what we're doing, to know what's going on. And so we need to be educated. We need to do some research. We can't just take the commercials. We can't just take the easy talking points. Those things are deliberately misleading. And all of those things are meant to get you to think the person you're leaning toward is perfect and the person who you're leaning against is terrible. And those things are just not true. There's never that dramatic difference, one being all good, the other being all bad or all evil, right? So one of the things we have to do, I'm going to have a few suggestions for you. Number one is don't go by the commercials or flyers. Be wiser than that. Again, be wise as serpents, gentle as doves. That is, as Christ followers, we need to be peace-loving people who try to be gentle in this whole thing. And I realize the culture doesn't want you to be gentle. The culture and all the social media and all the news coverage and all the TV coverage, all of it is demanding that you and I be aggressive and frankly hateful toward the other side. We can't do that as Christ followers. And so one of the things I want to challenge you to do is to not go by commercials or flyers or those kinds of things. Politicians and political parties will say anything in order to get elected. They will say the very thing that they govern against, they will tell you they're for in order to get your vote. And you've got to go beyond that. You've got to be wise, and you've got to seek the wisdom not only of the Lord, but the wisdom that comes from research and doing the hard work of reading, of learning, of looking things up, right? Of challenging them. So another thing we need to be about is to get wisdom, but not wisdom like this world sees wisdom. I want to talk to you about a different kind of wisdom. It's found in James chapter 3. Let me just read verses 13 through 18 for you. "If you are wise and understand God's ways, prove it by living an honorable life, doing good works with the humility that comes from wisdom." Humility comes from wisdom. "But if you are bitterly jealous and there is selfish ambition in your heart, don't cover up the truth of boasting or lying. For jealousy and selfishness are not God's kind of wisdom. Such things are earthly, unspiritual, and demonic. For wherever there is jealousy or selfish ambition, there you will find disorder of every evil kind. But the wisdom that is from above is first of all pure. It is also peace-loving, gentle at all times, and is willing to yield to others. It shows no favoritism and is always sincere. And those who are peacemakers will plant seeds of peace and reap a harvest of righteousness. That's the kind of wisdom that you and I, as believers in Jesus Christ, should be seeking. not the wisdom that comes from this world that is very self-centered and very egotistical. And you see that in politicians, you see that in political parties. Don't go by that, okay? Number two, remember, you're not just voting for a politician. You're voting for how they will govern. You're not just voting for what they say. You're voting for what you think they will do. And therefore, I want to give you an exercise to do. Okay? I'm doing the exercise myself, and I'll share the results of that maybe in the next time. But I want you to do an exercise, and I want you to sit down after this video, or sometime after this video. Sit down by yourself and write down the 5 most important policies you can think of, the things that you think are highest priority that you would like to see your political party or your rulers, your leaders go with. So whatever those are, whatever those 5 most important policies are, write them down, okay? They don't have to be in perfect order. You don't have, just generally, what is it? Does it have to do with the economy? Does it have to do with border security? Does it have to do with immigration? Does it have to do with climate? What does it have to do with, okay? Write those 5 things down, okay? Then do what I did. Go to both the Democratic Party's platform and the Republicans Party's platform. You can go there, rnc.gov, or I think it's dnc.gov, and you can find their platforms. They've officially come up with them. There's a whole list of things they are about, and that will at least give you an idea of what their priorities are for this year. And that's an important thing. You've got to know not just the presidential candidate, but really governors, senators, congresspeople, even people at a state and local level. What they're about will be kind of listed there. Now, you'll also see that both platforms have a lot of the things that they say are the same thing. There are certain things that they say are important, but they will govern very differently. And that gets to the next point, which is take a look at how they've governed in the past. This is a very unique election in America in that we've had somebody who's been in power, granted the vice president, but they've been in the political power for the last 4 years, and then somebody who was in political power 4 years before them. That's very unusual. I don't know if it's even historic in the elections of our country. You've seen how they govern. And so consider this. How have you liked how it's been governed over the past 4 years? Do you like what's been going on and what the president and vice president and their leaders, their cabinet has been saying and governing by over the last 4 years? Or did you like what was happening 4 years before that? Because you can see based on what they've already done how they would govern. And so that's a big part of this whole thing. We normally don't have that kind of fruit or that kind of evidence to go by. And that gets me to the third scripture I would just like to share. It's from Matthew chapter 7. Beware of false prophets who come disguised as harmless sheep but are really vicious wolves. You can identify them by their fruit, that is, the way they act. Can you pick grapes from thorn bushes or figs from thistles? A good tree produces good fruit, and a bad tree produces bad fruit. A good tree can't produce bad fruit, and a bad tree can't produce good fruit. So every tree that does not produce good fruit is chopped down and thrown into the fire. Yes, just as you can identify a tree by its fruit, so you can identify people by their actions. Now, I would say, honestly, in both cases, as you look deeper, there are some serious concerns on both of these candidates. Serious concerns when you look at how they act and how they govern themselves and how they govern other people and how they treat people who differ with them. And there are some serious concerns there. And I know that's part of why some of the people, some Christians are saying, should I not even vote? And that's a serious step to take. But here's I guess the bottom line is this. When you take all of the information that is available to you, what they've said, what they've done, what their party says they are all about, and you consider what their priorities are, then at least you will have a good indication, okay, who do I feel best about voting for, all right? Now, again, if you decide at the end of the day that when I stand before God, I can't imagine saying yes to either of these people, that's on you. That's, every one of us is going to answer for the not only the words we say, the things we do, but I believe we're going to answer for the votes we either cast or don't cast. And so it's a serious thing. It's a thing to be humbled before the Lord about. But what I want you to do is do that exercise. It might be instructive to you. It might be enlightening to you to sit down and write out the 5 most important policies you want to see your leaders embrace, and then look at their party platforms and see which one has most of them, or which one embraces the way you would do it more than the other. That will at least give you guidance. And so again, I'm not going to tell you how to vote. Next time I will tell you kind of my priorities of what I did when I did this exercise. And some of you are going to disagree with it. Some of you are going to agree with it. That's fine. But what I'm trying to get us to do is to humble ourselves before the Lord, to seek His will in this thing instead of just going by the commercials that just throw mud at each other. That's something we need to rise above as believers, okay? So in this whole process, I'm the Wandering Pastor just saying peace. May God's grace guide you and go with you today. Have a great day.